Hello everyone and welcome to this video. That's an intro I've not done really for several years. It's a bit odd, it's a bit weird, but we'll run with it nonetheless. I'm kind of a developer now, which is odd. I'm making videos about content that I used to review. It's a bit of a weird turnaround of how things have become, but we're here nonetheless. A few people have messaged me directly in my personal life who have seen the posts I've shared in my private social medias, asking questions like, what is this thing that I've done? How does it work? What is it? Okay, so as you will have seen on the YouTube channel, that this is going to also be uploaded to, as well as I'm uploading this to my Facebook as well, I released a trailer for the LNER Y6. That is a locomotive. That is this thing that you're currently looking at. And it's for a game, Train Simulator Classics, as it's now called, which has been a long time coming. And basically what that is this is a piece of downloadable content that then fits in this game that you can now utilise. The game is a platform, I think is the appropriate word of describing it, and then you buy the individual pieces of content that you like. In this case, it's a train simulator, so individual pieces of content may be specific rolling stock, specific locomotives, specific routes. Yada yada yada. You build the pieces of the game that you want to own, and there we go. So it's a bit weird, I know. I used to criticise DLC, and now I've made one. Weird. So I began working as a developer last year, 2021, and I actually worked for Digital Traction. I worked on the J70. That was the beginning of sort of ideas and testings and what I wanted to do. And what I found was a way of working that hadn't been done before, which we'll get into in a minute. So when the doors and paths aligned themselves where I took on this discarded DLC as my own, I thought, how hard can it be? So that is what this has turned into. Yeah, I made a DLC. So this is it. It's the LNER Y6. So it comes with quite a lot. I'm really impressed with actually what comes in the pack. It's been a lot of hard work by a couple of individuals that have helped me along the way. It's just I couldn't have done it without. There are 7 liveries. My favourite is the pre-war, LNER pre-war, because you've got this lovely red lining. And Yaron from Wayside Works has been my texturer, if that's the correct word. And he's done a great job at just putting these texts in. Thanks also to Tiana, who's done the decals and numbers. Look at that. It's lovely. Lovely. The woodwork is perfect as well. So there's multiple views. You can go around the cab. So I wanted a head-out one. You don't get a head-out on the J70, so I wanted a head-out on here. And I kind of wanted to align the cab views. It was perfectly in line with the window at the front there. So it wasn't as difficult navigating around, tight junctions and stuff like that. You could see your head pretty clear. So you've got mirrored on both sides, really, front and back. So you move all the way to the front, and then you work your way in like that. So it's a pretty nice, comfortable cab. There's a lot of things to do with it, a lot of things to interact with, things that are inherently pointless to the player in terms of gameplay. But I wanted to add them in just as nice little functionalities and bits of immersion and things like that. It's just a little bit of niche, but it's fun niche. So I'll go through a lot of the stuff with that as we sort of play along. So the purpose of this video really is for me to just show this off. I know I've made a trailer and I wrote some music for it, and that really is just it's advertising, it's marketing. That the idea of that video is to slap you in the face and say, hey, this is the thing that's coming, wake up, have a look, please. So now I want to really just do a nice, calm video, sort of talk you through what's in the pack, what happens with the pack, what can you do with the pack, and how the pack sounds, how the pack looks, and you just get a general feel of whether it's for you or not. I totally appreciate if this does not interest you at all. That is totally fine. I don't expect everybody to like it. There are certain people that will like it, and there are certain people that won't like it. That's just making products. That's being a developer. Totally understanding that. I thank you for watching nonetheless. So you get 21 pieces of rolling stock, and you get 7 liveries. This is one of the quick drive consists that I put together. So you get the 3rd class, you get one in crimson, and you get one in teak. And then you get some a mixture of late and early of the open 7 plank wagons. These ones have got crates in, and then you got a box fan and one with some milk churns, which have been wonderfully made by Elias. Thank you very much. Great texturing on that as well. I've not actually took this consist up this incline, so I don't know how well it's going to do. So what we'll do, we'll jump into the cab, we'll set off. The plan is to drive as far as we get and cover as much information as possible. As we're going, I'll drop some information. We'll talk about the sounds, how they interact with each other, what they mean, what they do, and then yeah, we'll just talk about the DLC. This is nice, calm, and relaxing. So we'll jump in. So this is air brake. So there is a Westinghouse there. So there is interactivity with the sounds. There's the brakes come up there. So what I'll do is get this into forward gear. You can adjust the firebox shelf if you want. Just a nice bit of interactivity. So we'll open the cylinder cogs, which is prevents damage to the cylinders if any moisture builds up when stationary. And that's it. We're pretty much ready. We're in forward gear. The brakes are off. Cylinders are open. So we can pretty much go. I'm not going to bother with passengers or anything like that. So we'll get it going. So there's two sounds on the regulator. Obviously you have your pilot valve and you have your main valve. That's all implemented. It's all dynamic on depending on what the locomotive's doing. So if cylinder cogs are open, it also changes the dynamics the same way that the reverser position changes the dynamics as well on the exhaust beats. So it's a lot of interacting components. So we'll get it going. What we'll do as well is we'll open the spark arrestor. Speed limit we got is 30. No point rushing because 31 is the top speed of the locomotive. Okay, pretty happy right at the platform here. So what I'll do is I'll just shut off the regulator, close the cylinders, and we'll get some stoking going on. We'll get some fire on the firebox. The way that I've implemented the stoking in this case, it's a toggle switch on F, which opens and closes the firebox, but also controls stoking as well. So there's no shift R, shift R, messing around with that. It's all on one key, which is toggle. The way that these locomotives are, and the way that they've been made, I wanted to put a lot of features together. This was a loco that was designed to be driven quite easily, so I wanted the controls to reflect that. So it's kind of, in my opinion, it's a Legacy Pro. It sits in the middle. It's nothing advanced as the Bossman game series, and nothing that's down to the Legacy. So it does have steam chest. So what I'll do is we'll rewind the reverser back. We're going up the incline any minute now, and we'll give it a bit of thrash for you so you can hear how it sounds. Whistle. So So one of the features that I started experimenting with the J70 was the idea of utilizing the inbuilt sound system. So the sound system works in the blueprint editors, which is the components of making content. And the subsystem allows you to create two types of audio inputs, which is a single audio file, and then there is also randomized audio files. Usually you would find in other DLC available is that the exhaust beats are singular, and what the common denominator is, you will dissect into the number of cylinders that your locomotive has. This locomotive has 2, and there is an exhaust beat. When the cylinder is fully extended, there'll be an exhaust beat. When it's fully retracted, there'll be an exhaust beat, which means there are 4 distinct exhaust beats for this locomotive. And usually the way that that would work in TS is you'd have beats 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you would have the game cycle them through into an exhaust or chuff loop. The one thing that I didn't like about chuff loops is once you hear the loop, it breaks the immersion. So we're working here, as it is in real time in the game, is these exhaust beats are entirely randomized. I've devised a way of working with my audio production qualifications. So there are 4 beats for every exhaust, which means there are 16 exhaust beats for every start and end of audio triggers. So that's a very long and broad way of saying it, but the exhaust beats are completely randomized, which is something that's never really been done in Trainsim before. In fact, this system was implemented and finalized before the Spirit of Steam announcement was made for a different game, which has been highly anticipated, and it turns out that is exactly the same sound system that was implemented for that. So I'm pretty proud that I've devised a system that the professionals use. Just get a little bit of break on here. Oh, I'll overshot it a little bit. Let's see how we go. Okay, let's load some passengers. So get the loco back up. So I wanted all sounds to sort of interact with each other. And I've utilised that randomising feature throughout the entirety of the locomotive. So you'll find that stop sounds, trigger sounds, end sounds of particular controls, and player interactivity is also randomised. One notable example is the reverser. It's all randomised end sounds. And it runs throughout, so that the squeaks on most of the controls are completely randomised as well, and it just really adds that player immersion to it. It doesn't break you from the game. I find that sounds really make or break games, and there's nothing worse as a player as when something it extracts you from a game or just a fun experience in general, which is why I wanted to remove that easily fixable issue, in my opinion. So whilst we've stopped, we'll have a little look around the cab. So we have the regulator here, which is controls the steam to the cylinders. So that is your throttle, and that's fully all animated. I'll open the trains like that, and you can control this locomotive from both ends, as you could do in real life. So you have the reverser here as well, regulator and brake. We have the live steam injector, which is operational by the mouse. Everything's operational by the mouse. This one's click and drag. The keyboard command is actually toggle. So when you have your injector on but no steam, you'll have the little extracts of smoke from the bottom there. So if we turn that off, there you go. You can turn the water feed on itself. The water drips down and it's fed by a vacuum system. So you turn the water on first, and then you turn your injector on, and then that will suck the water into the boiler. If you don't have the injector on but you turn the water on, you have water that drips out the locomotive. So you've got the live Water feed. The sander is controllable here. You have the cylinder drain, or cylinder cogs. Dampers. Firebox over here. You have your reverser, blower, and then your steam governor. So these locomotives were fitted with a steam governor, and a governor in this locomotive was quite unique because this is technically a tram. This is a steam tram, and it was one of the first of its kind in major use in the UK. Trams never really made it over to the UK. You see them in European cities across the world. Never really took off in the UK. This was for the Wisbech and Upwell tramway that opened in the late 1880s, early 1890s. I can't remember the exact date. And this was the first locomotive that was introduced with that route. The steam governor is a device that regulates the top speed of the locomotive as a safety feature. As this device spins round, it applies the force of centrifuge. So when the locomotive goes beyond a certain speed, or that disc spins a certain speed, it actually cuts the regulator off and stops the locomotive from going above a particular speed, which that control is implemented in the game. You can control that like that, or by pressing Control-Shift-D. So they're the basic controls of how to get the locomotive going. As well as the brake that we've also played with at the beginning, we have the handbrake here, which is on slash, and you can pick the particular location of that. I wanted to add immersion as well, which I spoke about at the beginning. So one of the particular hallmarks of this locomotive is it has a full surround, which has windows and doors that you can open and close in real life, and I wanted that to be reflected inside the game as well. So all the windows are completely operable. The seats can be moved. Even the side windows. My favourite is the doors. Which really allows you to customise the locomotive as you wish. All animations are working from the exterior and will remain in the position you leave them in. So we could, for example, leave the door hanging wide open like that, and you can find that outside. Just adds a nice touch of personal preference to the player. One I'm very proud of is I've actually made the smoke box door open, and the way I've worked the sound system into this is each section of this animation has triggers. So you will have handle squeaks, you have separate door squeak, and you have a close sound. But you'll find, anyone will attest that if you were to do this on a real steam locomotive in operation, a number of sounds would come into play as well. So you'll find that as you open this door, you will hear the smoke box steam, as well as a fire rumble. That just adds a little bit more immersion to the player, especially if you want to role play shutting down whilst playing the game. So we'll drive up a little bit more. So we're on a bit of a steep incline at the moment. We're on a 1 in 79 incline. Again, full forward. Take the brake off. Make sure the handbrake's off because we have been playing with that. We'll give it a little bit of steam whilst stop us from rolling backwards. Oh, we roll back a little bit anyway. Here we go. So as you can see now, the governor is actually animating. a little bit of throttle off, or reg off. So there is a main whistle that comes with the locomotive, which is fully interactable inside the cab. All the rope is animated as well, as you can see through. A little bit more steam. And the same can be said about the bell. There are numerous limitations to what you can do with the bell when it comes to the game itself. And one piece of player feedback that we received for the J70 was the bell was triggered, and players found that they lacked a lot of interactivity with that. So I implemented 3 types of bell for the players. The first one is a bell trigger, which loops, and you can do that by pressing Shift B. All the rope is animated. So if you're a player that wants ease of exploring the content, Shift B is the one for you. There is a secondary bell, which I call simulated pulling. The way that this works is different to the bell loop. This one uses randomized audio bell sounds, and that works by when you press B, it triggers a sound, and when you release B, it plays the other one, which gives players the option to try and get the timing perfect on the bell. The limitation for this is obviously the animation keeps playing. So the way that works is if you press B and release, and the way that works is you'll try and get the rhythm like that. The third way of doing the bell is from the cab itself. So you can actually manually pull the cord, and the bell will remain in the position you leave it until you either trigger it by the mouse, the keyboard, or you go back and play inside the cab. Just wind this back so we're getting a little bit of speed, and we can actually show you what the locomotive sounds like at higher speed. Again, all randomised in exhaust strokes. So all the sounds in this pack are implemented by me, that I've learnt through the process of becoming a developer from start to finish so far. That includes the bogie sounds, which is the track joint. You have the rumble of the locomotive as well. That is predominantly recognisable on the rolling stock. The track joints are randomised. I believe there are 16 or 18 individual sounds, which adds a lot more immersion to the player, which is very recognisable if you let the locomotive drive past. So the rolling stock that is included do come with internal camera views. You see the open fire there as we're building up some steam. This is one of the balcony views. You can scroll through using the left and right arrow keys. This is a personal favourite of mine. I love hanging off down the steps, especially when you see the locomotive bouncing around on the more rough tracks. There's also internal camera positions as well. So what we'll do now is we'll pull up in the station here, and we'll bring the video to a close. It's just a nice, again, very nice, simple video that just talks you through the locomotive, how it sounds, what controls are in, what you get, and hopefully this pack not only is appealing to you as a player, a potential customer, but it also shows off what depths of enjoyment you can get from it, and hopefully, if this pack is anything to be desired, it opens the doors up for me to continue making content. I'm halfway through a second DLC at the moment. It's yet unannounced, but we'll see how the players enjoy this Y6, and then we'll go from there. So I hope that answers a lot of questions to the people who are not familiar with Train Sim. I hope that it shows off the potential of the pack to the players that are interested in the DLC. If you're not interested in this pack, again, that's perfectly acceptable. If you've got any criticisms, any feedback, anything you'd like me to implement into the product to help boost the product, improve the product, what you'd like to see from the product, just let me know. That'd be fantastic. So thank you once again. I'll look forward to doing more videos, I think, again. But there you go. That's the LNER Y6. It's available on the 4th's simulation, and it's recently just been announced as upcoming on SSS, which is Steam Sound Supreme. You can pick up your copy today on 4th's, and a release date on the Steam Sound Supreme will be announced soon. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have any comments, questions, put them in the comment section below, and I'll speak with you soon. Goodbye.